village compared to Tel Aviv. But he still likes the ambiance. Avi is very polite, and Avi will tell us some stories about urban intervention through his work. And Avi will be there for the next 2-3 days, so you'll have the chance to know more. Now, 6 minutes, 40 seconds, 20 images. Avi.
Thank you very much. In the next set, I'm right here with my wife Dana, she's in the audience, at a very early hour in the morning. And this project is a landscape urbanism for a project we did as a collaboration. Dana is a performance artist. And what we did was for a Biennale in Bat-Yam. Bat-Yam is a small town next to Tel Aviv. Everyone knows Tel Aviv, but nobody knows Bat-Yam, and that's why they did these big projects with lots of many projects. So it was an invitation to submit proposal, and we sat together and we wrote a short text talking about a theme about private spaces in the public spaces. And what does it mean? When we sit on a bench in a city, we actually claim this bench. It's ours until we move away. Or, for instance, in the beach, when we put a towel on the sand, nobody will get to this area until we leave this sand. So we actually say, this is our sand, this is our property, please stay off. But what we wanted to make is a new kind of private space in the public domain, a place that you will feel at home, a place that is more private and more defined. And on the right side, you see a glimpse of photos from the big project. And in this sense, the kid is staying there and looking at the sky, and just as the exhibition is just a place to be. What we have in Tel Aviv, in the garden, in the public spaces, early in the morning, parents we have birthday parties. They go to the park and they start to tie strings of balloons from one tree to another, and they claim the site as their own. I don't know if you have it here. Last week, we had a holiday called Lag BaOmer, and in this holiday, it's a Jewish holiday, and one of the customs is to light bonfires, usually in junk spaces, what I call leftovers at the edge of town, and people come, collect their woods a week before, and start there at one night. It's actually, there's a lot of smoke, it's not so ecological, but that's what's happening there. So we had the concept of these private spaces, and we got an okay from the curators of the Biennale. And we went to Bat-Yam to look for a site. And we found a perfect site for what we were wanting to show. The site was at the dead end of a street that was blocked by a freeway. And at the end of the freeway, there was a strip of land, and there was a 6-meter high, ugly concrete wall that served as a barrier, acoustical barrier for the residents. But what actually happened, that the real estate prices went down because of the noise of the street. And we went there and we started to map the area, and we looked at the activities that actually happening in this vacant strip of land. And there was again these Lag BaOmer's bonfires, residues, barbecues, and the most common use was actually taxi driving, taking a leak, stopping there and taking a leak, if you know this term. So it was a dump, and we imagined a new magical and hidden garden with a new wall, which was a porous wall with a gate, that at the end of this road you will open the gate and you'll find something unfamiliar, unknown, and people wouldn't know how to use it even. That's what we thought. We later found out that they naturally use it very nicely. So Dana worked with a local community center, with a theater group, and they worked on the site before the site was built, because it was a very rushed construction for the site. That's what you see on the upper there. A little bit about the construction. I was looking for a material that will be solid enough to stay in the public domain, and then we'll do this continuous surface movement of a swoosh from the wall down to the ground. So looking at artificial glass, polyurethane surfaces, and at the end we found a material that's actually used for the edges of streams, something that is a layer of fabric that you put in a stream and then you pumped with concrete. So I was designing a substrate, a base, that was a combination of steel trusses with hard pressed soil with wood niches. There were 3 different crews working simultaneously on site. It was a very stressful and short period of construction. That actually I was the constructor because nobody knew how to put this together. And here you see this material that is pumped with concrete on site. And about these private spaces that I talked about, the theme, those niches are carved in the space of the wall and also carved in the space of the ground. And differently from a regular park where the facilities are actually put on the ground, these are in the ground and create privacy. When we talk about private spaces or private public spaces, like you talk about Disneyland, for instance, there is admission. And the admission we took is for every participant needs to plant a plant of grass inside this surface. And that's a beginning of taking care of public space. When we declared the site open for the Biennale, it was an amazing transformation. Suddenly, kids came out of nowhere. We never saw kids in these neighborhoods, and they suddenly came out and started to flood this area, play in very innovative ways that we didn't thought about. We thought that the performance need to show the public how to use the space, how to occupy it, but then we were mistaken. They knew naturally how to use it. On both sides of the area, the city saw the advantage and planted the grass lawns. Unfortunately, only 50 meters from each side. After that, it was still a dump. But that was a place for the neighbors to sit, and the adults sat in the shade, and the kids were playing. And the transformation of the site was every hour, or the morning, evening, night, different population. If it was teenager, adults, everyone used it in a different way, in a very imaginative way. And this is our conclusion, that we need more unfamiliar public spaces that will give a challenge to the public and not the usual slides and swings. And for the end, I want to thank you. They're not here anymore, but still the metal workers, the wood workers, and of course the Biennale crew and the city of Bat-Yam. Thank you very much.